Welcome to another Family and Community Focus. I'm your host, Kevin Miller. And today we're going to talk about the Global Book Hour Project and an innovative way to promote literacy and prepare teacher candidates. And joining me to talk about that today are Pixita del Prado Hill, professor in the SUNY Buffalo State Elementary Education, Literacy, and Educational Leadership Department. And you serve as Director of Professional Development Schools Consortium. And you're co-founder of the Global Book Project, which has been around since 2010.
Correct.
And you it brings together, we got in here we'll talk about this, about your love for books, the international travel and research, and your teaching interest. Also joining me is Patricia George. Hello. She's a lecturer in the SUNY Buffalo State Elementary Education, Literacy, and Educational Leadership Department. And you also are working extensively with the Global Book Hour. And there's other things we're going to talk about that have developed from the Global Book Hour, like this Global Literacy Channel and Global Literacy Blogging. You're a certified literacy specialist, and you work as a teacher educator, which focus on training teacher candidates to help children become proficient readers and writers. Okay, so the first thing to do is probably talk a little about what is the Global Book Hour Project.
Sure. So the Global Book Hour Project is the overarching project name, and then under that we have lots of different elements. So first, to where we began was with the Global Book Hour. And so the Global Book Hour uses interactive read-alouds and integrated arts to promote family literacy for children and families within the community surrounding Buffalo State. And it was developed in response to the growing diversity in the area around our campus, so the Grant Street area, Black Rock area. And so in response, our department convened a global task force, and we wanted to really consider ways that we could support that community, but also help our teacher candidates, those folks preparing to become teachers within our program, how to more effectively serve children from a wide variety of backgrounds. So we thought we'd go to where the children and families are, and that was to go to a grocery store, so Wegmans on Amherst Street, and then eventually to a laundromat. So these are places where families gather, places where families go on a regular basis, and we offer this integrated experience while they're there. Wegmans has always been a wonderful partner to Buffalo State, and so they collaborated with us to bring this program into being. And then the WASH project, which was originally on Massachusetts Avenue but is now on Grant Street, reached out to us once they'd heard about our program. I originally founded this project with a colleague, Kim Truesdell, who has since retired. And when Kim retired, Patty came on board and has really taken the Global Book Project in some wonderful, new, exciting directions.
So I think the really interesting part of this is it's community-based.
Yes.
And it's driven a lot by the people who live in the community. Like, you're responding to the people who live in the community. Right. I think one of the interesting things about it is how you select your books.
So I think that's in, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Sure. I think my colleague Pixita will agree that that probably is one of the most enjoyable aspects of Global Book Hour is just looking through children's literature. There's so much available, but actually picking really quality pieces of children's literature to share with the children in attendance. And so we always start with a theme, and that really guides us in our selection process. And then our goal always is to visit places all around the globe. And so recently we did buildings and homes around the world, and we read a book about the Eiffel Tower and about the Colosseum and the Great Pyramid, and we read about igloos and pueblos, and it really gave children extensive background knowledge about architecture that can be found around the globe. Another semester we did animals, and actually we spent a whole year on this particular theme because the children love animals, and they visited such exotic places. We went to Madagascar, the Kalahari Desert, the Sargasso Sea. So once again, children acquiring extensive background knowledge about countries and other regions and cultures. We've done themes such as the immigrant experience, sports and games. This coming semester in the fall, we're planning to do discoveries, so the children will take a look at inventions and scientific discoveries, and perhaps people that have just made self-discoveries. And so that is a really enjoyable aspect, is picking high-quality children's books that are very rich in vocabulary, with wonderful illustrations to create lifelong readers and writers.
And hopefully some inspiration.
Yes, absolutely.
So the objectives and what you're doing and why you're doing this and what's the goals of the project.
Sure. So the goals central to our purpose are for children and families. So we want to provide a fun family literacy event and experience each week that the families come. And we also want to help children learn about each other. So we often, in choosing the books, as Patty was talking, we try to choose books that represent the backgrounds of the children who attend. And so they have a chance to speak to their own experience, but also other children get a chance to learn about their neighbors and community members. And then ultimately, for families and children, our hope is to get books into the hands of children so that the literacy experience can be extended at home. So all of our fundraising efforts go into purchasing books that can go home with children. For our teacher candidates, excuse me, this is an opportunity for them to contribute to their community through a service learning experience. So the course that's tied to this particular project, students sign up for knowing that it's going to involve service learning. And the teacher candidates also receive the book to build their own classroom library as future teachers. And the goal is for them to become comfortable interacting with children around reading, and also with parents and caregivers.
And right now, they initially started in a very non-threatening environment.
It's very friendly, it's warm, and it's a wonderful experience to read to children, but many of our teacher candidates have not necessarily done a read aloud with children, so we take them through steps to help them become more comfortable so that ultimately they can do that for a whole class.
And transfer that to when they're actually teaching, or
Exactly.
before they get into their student teaching, and all
Right.
the times when they're taking over the classroom.
Right.
What does it look like? What would somebody see if they came in and said, I'm sitting down in Global Book Hour. I know I've been there because this is what I've seen.
Sure. Well, I'll do my best to paint a picture for you. You would see a room buzzing with activity and smiles from ear to ear. It's a very joyful place. One of the first things you see upon entering is a table set up as our immigration desk. And the children in attendance each week will come to the table, and the first question they ask is, where are we going today? Where are we traveling? And we give them a little passport. They stamp the passport and list the country, the location to which we're traveling. And then the children come over to the rug. At each location, we have a nice gathering space. They'll sit on the rug with the teacher candidates and pick up a book right away or play a little game as we're waiting for the session to actually formally begin. And one of my favorite things is to just kind of look at the periphery of the room, because you'll see parents and caregivers gathered all around talking amongst themselves, often about the joys and tribulations of raising young readers and writers. And so I would describe it a little bit as a support group atmosphere. That's one of the things I love about Global Book Hour. It truly is a family literacy program. And then, of course, you'd see my teacher candidates working right alongside the children and the families, getting ready to take them through what we call an interactive read aloud, which we'll talk about momentarily. And the best thing you'll see is at the end of the session, the children actually taking the book home to add to their family's library.
So the interactive read aloud, and tribe is an important part of this. How does that work? Why is that so critically important?
Yeah, so just reflecting back on my own days in the classroom teaching, I'd often have parents say to me, how do I read a book aloud to children? They don't quite know how to take them through the book to really engage them. And I think that's the essence of the interactive read aloud, is it's a highly engaging way to take kids through a book. Rather than just opening the book and actually reading, we do many things beforehand to draw kids into the experience appropriately, all to maximize their comprehension. And so the teacher candidates will start with an introduction, and they'll give kids background knowledge on the book. And that's often a little bit of information about the country to which we're visiting, or maybe about the topic that's being addressed in the book. And then we jump to our vocabulary introduction. And we want to make sure we spend time really developing kids' understanding of the vocabulary in the book, because that's essential for comprehension. So, rather than just giving them the definition of the word, we want to create more hands-on experiences for the kids so they really internalize what that vocabulary is. So a great example would be a few semesters ago, we had a book that dealt with those wooden nesting dolls. And we knew the word nesting was going to be in the book, but the kids might struggle with that concept. And so the teacher candidates talked amongst themselves and decided to bring in an actual robin's nest with an egg tucked inside, and showed the kids the nest and said, the egg fits very nicely inside the nest, just like these dolls fit inside one another. And so that's essential. We're really drawing upon what the kids know to help them understand the new concepts. And the parents are learning alongside with us. They see the way we interact with the children, and they practice these things at home. And then when it comes time for the read aloud, we're sure to make sure we emphasize comprehension strategies along the way, teaching the kids to make predictions, or connecting to the text, or asking questions as we move through the book, and then having a great discussion afterwards. And then we always engage kids in an activity related to the book, which is usually some type of arts or craft activity. And then we wrap up the session at the end with giving the families a tip of the week that they can take home and practice with their children. It's a literacy-based tip to help them create that literacy-rich environment in the home.
It's like the teaching cycle.
It sure is.
So you got the knowledge base, all the stuff, vocabulary development,
Right.
get through all the creative ways of dealing with it. The assessment could, the discussion at the end.
Yes,
And then the beauty part is that they take it home and they get to be able to practice it again.
that's right.
Right.
I was just talking a little bit about being transferred to the classroom now. So this is a part that, this is a community service. It's a service learning kind of project, and we're discussing that aspect of it. But equally as important is our ability of the teacher candidates to be able to transfer this to the classroom. So how does that work?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things about the course is at the end of the semester, the teacher candidates do a reflection paper on the experience, and it's really enjoyable to read what their takeaways are from the whole Global Book Hour experience. And very often, they talk about how they just really learned how to read a book aloud to children and how to engage with children in this very comfortable atmosphere. And we've heard stories about teacher candidates through the years implementing a similar type of program in their own classroom, a Global Book Hour session that they do periodically with their own students. So again, I think the key things they learn are an interactive read aloud, how to engage with kids, how to interact with families, which is a big part of their job as a classroom teacher. And they fall in love with children's literature and all of the possibilities it has to offer children.
That's often the hard part, is being able to learn how to deal with families or try to interact with families, especially if they're from different cultures, different backgrounds.
Correct.
It sounds like a wonderful opportunity to be able to practice this, again, in a very nice, safe environment and develop your skills for being a good teacher, too.
Right.
The locations, they are unusual sites. We're talking a grocery store,
Right.
and we're talking a laundromat. The selection process, you kind of alluded to that a little bit, but maybe you want to provide a little bit of the connection with the professional development school.
Sure. So I'm fortunate to be the director of our Professional Development Schools Consortium at Buffalo State, and it's the mechanism by which we connect the college to school partners and community agencies. And the idea of the Professional Development School is that everyone benefits. So the hosting school, the classroom teachers benefit, the building leaders, the administration, Our teacher candidates benefit by working with that school, the college faculty benefit by staying really current, but most importantly, the children benefit. And so we took that PDS model and applied it to this idea for the Global Book Hour. But what makes it a little unique is that we're actually partnering with local businesses. And again, it's to try to get, to move us to where children and families are going to gather on a regular basis. So Wegmans is a wonderful partner. They're a very, they have an international focus themselves. And so they were very welcoming, and they created this beautiful space for us in order for us to be able to deliver this program. And then the WASH Project similarly created a really wonderful space. So as families came to do their laundry each week, we opened up this possibility for children to be able to have this experience of this interactive read aloud.
So this is really important if we think about the dynamics of families and what are they going to do with the children when they go to laundromat.
Mm-hmm.
What can they do with the children if they got to go to the grocery store? And here we've got an opportunity for them to learn while they're taking care of some of the business of being a family.
Right. Yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah, that's a wonderful connection in there. Where can people learn more about this Global Book Hour? They're going to be seeing this at various times when they look at it. So maybe a little bit more information on where they can find how to attend it or participate in it. Or
We welcome people to come and learn more. So we've got a website. It's called the Global Book Project. And actually we've undergone a name change. So Global Literacy is the larger name that we're using now. And Patty and I will talk about the reason for that change in just a moment. We also have a Facebook page, and on that website there's a multitude of resources. The tip of the week that Patty talked about, we actually post that so families can go back and revisit it. We've also developed an annotated bibliography, so all of the books that we've used since 2010, the number is large at this point. We have a bibliography, a list that families can look at, and most of those books are available at the public library or through interlibrary loan, so that families can go back and revisit around these specific themes that we've addressed. The Global Literacy channel is also there, and Patty's going to talk about that in a moment. And also the Global Literacy blog is a new piece that we're just beginning, and I can say a little bit more about that later as well. We've also have some scholarly pieces written about the project, so if people are interested in learning more about that, we've written an article for Reading Teacher, and we've also got 2 books that PDS has sponsored that will be, one of them has already been published and talks about the Global Book Hour, and then we have a new book coming out, and Patty's writing a chapter for that.
That's excellent. So there's lots of ways for people to look at. They probably could Google Global Book Hour,
Definitely.
Buffalo State or Global Book
Exactly.
Hour, and find information on it as well. So let's talk about this literacy channel. This is something, last time I talked with you about this kind of thing, it was in its conceptual and working towards implementation stage.
Right.
It's happening now?
It's happening, that's correct. So through the generous support of the Institute for Community Health Promotion, Collaborative Research Institute, we began a new initiative that we launched in January of 2018 known as the Global Literacy Channel. And you can find that on YouTube. And we really wanted to make sure that we could give families more information, more techniques, more strategies to help their children become successful readers and writers, because we know that's so critical to their success in school and in life in general. And so you can find it right on YouTube if you just look for the Global Literacy Channel, and also a link through our School of Education Global Literacy Initiative page. And you'll find short video clips, 1, 2, 3 minutes in length, featuring teacher candidates, talking to families, anyone who visits our channel, also teacher candidates, teachers, foster and adoptive families, about how they can help create a very literacy-rich environment at home. So we're really, really excited about this new initiative.
Do you have, how many of these things are out there that people can look at? I mean, it's quite a few.
Well, just a few now. We've
Okay.
got about 12 videos posted, but we're working on more this summer, and we will have, more and more. That's our hope, is to continually add to it, so we have a tremendous bank of resources for families.
So the the objectives of this project, you know, we talked about what's good for the children, that kind of stuff, but how does it work for the teacher candidates, for the faculty, you know, children, families, and all that kind of stuff? What are you seeing? Maybe you got a story that would, you know, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I just think often, our primary goal is to promote literacy. And, we really try to achieve that with the teacher candidates to underscore how very important it is for student success in school. And so through these global literacy initiatives, we're reaching doing this through multiple avenues, through families, through children, through teacher candidates. And I really like we have a logo for the Global Literacy Channel, and it's teaching readers and writers around the globe. And I think ultimately that's what our goal is to reach out to people anywhere who might stumble across our site or the YouTube channel and just really equip them with the strategies they need to help kids be successful. I think there's so much information out there, that's often the problem. And so these videos and all of the other efforts that are underway are very instructive and hopefully will be a great support for anyone who stumbles across our channel or our website.
I just think about the variety of people that can use it.
Right.
You guys are talking about the families. I mean, grandparents can use it. We're talking about. I used to work in residential facilities with kids, and something like that, from my standpoint, that's not at a time where I knew much about.
Right.
So going back, looking at that, thinking about what the kids are doing, being able to support homework that they come home with, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Lots of really good uses for that. How can the community get involved?
We definitely welcome involvement. First of all, people can come and attend. We meet each semester for a number of weeks, so you'd want to visit our website to know where we are and which days, but we certainly welcome participation, and whether you're coming with a child as a participant, or if you'd just like to come and see what it's all about. We'd love to have you there. And we would also encourage people to spread the word to people who have young children in the Buffalo area. They're certainly welcome to join us. And we try very hard to differentiate for different age levels. So even the youngest children, we have ways, we help our teacher candidates learn how to involve those very young children. And then the older children, also, they're reading and being supported through the interactive read aloud. But middle school age children or upper primary grades also are very welcome. We choose a chapter book, and the children read a chapter each week in an interactive way. So it's designed really with families in mind, knowing that siblings are going to be different ages.
And they're going to grow up.
And they're going to grow up, and we want them to keep coming. Exactly. So the other is we encourage people to volunteer to help, especially if they like to integrate art and music. So those are areas that we're really excited about being able to offer to the children as part of this experience. We've also had therapy dogs and their handlers attend. So that was at WASH. We were able to do that because it wasn't the grocery store, and the children responded extremely positively to that. As Patty said, the animal theme was so popular, and that was part of that theme. And then donations, all purchases, any funding that we raise goes to buying books for kids and for new teachers.
And the supplies that go along with being able to do the interactive activities.
Right, exactly.
Well, what's next on the horizon? Knowing the two of you, you're never stagnant.
That's right.
So what's next up?
So as Patty mentioned, the Global Literacy Channel is certainly a big priority. And as another component of it, we're actually adding it as a playlist. We have an international professional development schools program, and so we're going to create a series of videos. We've actually created, I think, 4 at this point, and they help teachers, families, all of the different audiences that we've just talked about, work with children who are language learners. And so the specific strategies to develop literacy skills are intended with that particular group of children in mind.
Where's this international location? Or locations?
Locations, yes. Yeah. So we partner with schools and universities around the globe. We've got partners in Santiago, Chile, in Honduras, in Dominican Republic, in Germany, in Italy, in Zambia, and we're actually developing a student teaching experience at another site in Italy. So it's pretty exciting, and we encourage those partners also to view our videos and get involved in that way. And in a related way, our partner in Santiago, Chile has actually developed a global book project. And so they are instituting some of the strategies and approaches that we use with the public schools in Santiago. And Chile is experiencing some important demographic shifts, so they've really turned to the experiences that we've had in Buffalo to help learn how to respond in appropriate and supportive ways. Another piece that's on the horizon, I mentioned our blog. And so Patty and I are going to be developing a blog that discusses different aspects of literacy. So it will be a text version. It will have links to these videos. It will offer suggestions and ideas. And we're not exactly sure what the final product will look like because we're still working on it. But the idea would be a forum for people interested in promoting literacy for children and families to be able to really discuss what are effective ways and what are resources that we have access to. And then finally, I mentioned the 2 books that PDS has sponsored. So our first book is called Doing PDS, Stories and Strategies from Successful Clinically Rich Practice. And in that we have a chapter about how the Global Book Hour developed and why it looks the way it does and some of the outcomes that have occurred because of it. And that's embedded with other stories about this college and community partnerships, school partnerships. Our current book that we're working on, and it's under contract, we're expecting it to be out within the year, is The Impact of PDS in Challenging Times. And Patty is going to be, is writing a chapter with one of the graduate students who supports her in the day-to-day running of the Global Book Hour. So the focus will be on this new initiative of the Global Literacy Channel. So we're really excited to be able to spread the word more widely through this book.
Well, there's a lot going on. I'm sure we can spend a lot more time on it too.
Right.
But thank you so much for taking the time out today to talk about this really cool project that has grown. I think one of the innovative parts of it is that you're taking, or it's materialized to the point where you have English language learners, which is one of the needs that you recognize from that, especially that part of the community, and we're doing something about it. We're doing something about helping the children and the families be able to read and learn and acquire knowledge through that process. So thank you again for joining us for another time on Family and Community Focus, and we look forward to seeing you again.